What if the Trump family possesses something far more powerful than wealth or influence? Something like a device or knowledge stolen from Nikola Tesla himself, and perhaps linked to time travel. The Trumps have a history of popping up in unexpected places, including in children's books that existed over 100 years before their protagonist, Barron Trump, Nikola Tesla's deathbed, and of course, the Oval Office. Their intimacy in the past with the personal and private works of Nikola Tesla feel like a prophecy of the modern times, where now the family works close with Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla. So are the Trumps time traveling, or is someone else and they're trying to send us a message?
Hello, citizen.
This content creator is a confirmed conspiracy theorist and has been subject to repeated penalties for spreading controversial rhetoric. Please proceed with caution, trust the government, remain silent. Your compliance is appreciated and, of course, non-negotiable.
Hey guys, welcome to the 21 CD podcast. If you're looking for a sign that you may be in danger, this is it. As always, I'm your ghost John, here today, but tomorrow is never promised, so protect your kids, protect yourselves, and always question the narrative. If you like the show, go ahead and give us a Google and follow us everywhere. Please also check out 21cdstudios.com for posters right now, but very soon there's going to be tons of merch up there. I'm getting some stickers. I'm going to try to get some t-shirts and stuff out there. It's going to be a really cool place to be. We got a ton of new people on the channel right now, and I would just like to say welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here. Welcome to 21st Century Dystopian. We are the crazy ones, and we are so happy to have you here. Now, let's get into the show. The burning of my laboratory 2 years ago was the most serious accident I ever had. No one knows what I lost by that. For a moment, he sat reflecting. Then, speaking in the third person, he began to explain the main source of sadness in a prolific inventor's life. So many ideas go chasing through his brain that he can only seize a few of them as they fly. And of these, he can only find the time and strength to bring a few to perfection. And it happens many times that another inventor who has conceived the same ideas anticipates him in carrying one out of them. I tell you, that makes a fellow's heart ache. As the sun began to rise over New York City on January 8th, 1943, the grand corridors of the New Yorker Hotel lay in early morning quiet. Alice Monaghan, a hotel maid, made her way through the familiar halls, attending to the routine of daily rounds. She stopped in front of room 3327, where a Do Not Disturb sign had hung for 2 days straight. This was unusual, but not entirely surprising, given the reclusive habits of the elderly man inside. Nikola Tesla, the old, elusive tenant inside, had always been a peculiar fixture. He was known to keep odd hours, murmuring to himself in strange languages or pacing the hall in a sort of trance-like state. But now, there was only silence. She hesitated before gripping the door handle, feeling an inexplicable chill that seemed to seep from the wood. She opened the door slowly, stepping into the dim room. The air inside was still and thick with an odd, metallic scent that lingered around Tesla's scattered belongings. Papers covered every surface, pages upon pages of notes, diagrams, and calculations written in tight, deliberate strokes. Stacks of notebooks lay open, the ink slightly smudged. She saw sketches of devices that she couldn't even begin to understand. Strange constructions of loops, gears, and metallic coils that twisted across the pages. Some of the pages looked worn, edges frayed as though handled countless times. There, on the bed, Tesla lay motionless, his body thin and frail under the white linens. His hands rested gently over his chest, and his face held a look of calm, almost as though he had drifted off mid-thought. Eyes closed, lips pressed into a slight, almost ghostly smile. And though she would later say little about what she'd seen, Alice would remember that room, its quiet, its coldness, the strange, almost watchful stillness, as though something hidden had witnessed her presence. You've all heard me talk about Nikola Tesla before, and honestly, many consider him somewhat of an overdone topic. For the most part, I kind of agree with that. I think he has been psychoanalyzed into oblivion. The result being a host of stories that may or may not even be true. A host of concoctions of many strange conspiracy theories, if you want to call them that. And some of them are true, right? Not all of them are true, but not all of them are not true either. And every once in a while, I research a topic that appears to have absolutely nothing to do with Nikola Tesla, and yet his name pops up. And not in like a conspiracy theory sort of way, just in the way that he seems to be connected to a great many things. Even today, evidence of Nikola Tesla's impact appears to be everywhere. Most people don't even know that Nikola Tesla is actually the one who invented the light bulb, not Thomas Edison. But Thomas Edison basically had Nikola Tesla as a sort of scientist for hire and got the credit. So anyway, as I'm researching this topic, which is weird, very weird, I began to put words into the search bar that would hopefully undoubtedly turn up nothing, searching for an inquiry that would yield 0 results, and yet the farther I dug, the more I uncovered. 3 main groups of people are officially documented as having been the next to enter the hotel room turned crypt of Nikola Tesla. The first of these people has quite an interesting name. Dr. John G. Trump. He was a distinguished American electrical engineer, an inventor. He was a physicist, and he was known for his pioneering work in high voltage engineering. And he spent a lot of time engineering X-ray technology and conducting radar research. He was born on August 21st, 1907, and he was the younger brother of Fred Trump, and that made him the uncle of former and soon-to-be, again, U.S. President Donald Trump. His career was marked by significant contributions to both the medical and military technology fields, and he was widely respected in scientific and government circles. The more you know. He immediately assessed the room with very keen attention to every single detail. Dr. Trump, he was a respected MIT professor of electrical engineering and a trusted government consultant. So he had been called upon to examine the belongings of Nikola Tesla. Tesla was still on the bed, deceased, and Dr. Trump observed him with a quiet respect. Here was a man who, through sheer intellectual prowess, had ventured to the edges of human understanding. Dr. Trump continued to look around the room, and he probably noted the numerous papers and devices scattered across the desk. Notebooks lay open, each page meticulously filled with Tesla's handwriting, equations, diagrams, and notations that detailed his relentless explorations of energy, frequency, and resonance. Some of the calculations hinted at concepts that seemed beyond physics altogether, bordering on the esoteric, as if Tesla's inquiry had extended into something more arcane. Maybe Dr. Trump picked up a leather-bound notebook, and maybe he looked through the pages and examined Tesla's notes, his eyes catching on terms like vibrational threshold, temporal interference, and displacement fields, phrases that suggested an audacious exploration of time itself. Because of course it is thought that Tesla was exploring time travel during these times, and the times leading up to these end times for him. On the desk, perhaps an arrangement of complex devices caught his attention, each part sort of meticulously assembled as though experimentation was being conducted in this room. And as he gathered up Tesla's essential papers and secured them within his coat, Dr. Trump probably felt the gravity of the situation and of the moment. Tesla had not merely theorized, but had ventured into realms that others might hesitate to contemplate. This meant that what Dr. Trump may have, I'm not saying he did, but I'm saying he could have and easily could have, what he may have taken may have changed the course of history. Dr. Trump would have taken these things up, hidden them under his coat, turned, and left the room, carrying his little collection of papers. He probably knew that he was doing something wrong, but maybe also knew that this was the only way to keep the government from getting it, because it would appear that if he did take something from Tesla, it didn't end up with the government. Inside Nikola Tesla's hotel room, according to reports, there were as many as 70 trunks of Tesla's notes, prototypes, writings of all sorts, gadgets, drawings, personal belongings, and Dr. John G. Trump was called in to examine Nikola Tesla's belongings by the Office of Alien Property Custodian, and that would be the second group that I refer to out of the three that seemed to enter the room and have their way with Tesla's things. The Office of Alien Property is a U.S. government agency that's responsible for seizing and assessing the assets of foreign nationals or those perceived as a potential threat during wartime. Following Tesla's death in January in 1943, the FBI, who is the third group that had access to his belongings after his death, were concerned about Tesla's advanced research potentially falling into enemy hands during World War II. So they secured his belongings, allegedly. The OAPC, this Office of Alien Property Custodian, which had jurisdiction over Tesla's estate due to his status as a Yugoslav national, was then tasked with overseeing the contents. So to review and assess the technical and scientific value of Tesla's research, the OAPC enlisted Dr. John Trump. The U.S. government was particularly interested in Tesla's work on directed energy weapons, wireless power transmission, and other theoretical technologies, given Tesla's claim of a death ray and other advanced devices that might have military applications, because Tesla was working on all sorts of stuff that we've never heard about. It is alleged that Tesla was in the process of creating such a weapon as a death ray for Russia before he was killed. Before he died. And that's why maybe he was, why maybe he died, okay? That's why maybe he died and we went through all this stuff. Maybe it was for national security. Stranger things have almost happened. Dr. Trump's role in all of this was to examine Tesla's papers, his notebooks, and equipment to determine whether they held any viable or dangerous technologies that could pose a security risk or offer a strategic advantage. And after his review, Trump concluded that Tesla's later work was largely theoretical or impractical, and that there was no immediate threat or military value in the materials. His findings led the OAPC to store most of Tesla's documents without any further action, though many remained classified or under government control for years, which has fueled conspiracy theories about the nature of Tesla's research. And you can go and you can look and you can read, I don't know, a few hundred pages of Tesla's work now that has been declassified by the FBI. But my thing is always, there's no way for us to know if these files are complete. There's no way for us to know if these files are even legitimate, because if the FBI it could have been manipulated. It could have been changed so that the secret is still hidden, you know? Tesla's research included a lot, like he said, of unconventional and theoretical ideas that might, in theory, have been able to be weaponized, such as this teleforce concept, which he claimed could direct energy beams capable of immense destruction. In the context of World War II, with increasing interest in advanced weapons, the U.S. government definitely wanted to ensure that Tesla's work wouldn't fall into the wrong hands or contain concepts that could give enemy nations an advantage over the United States if replicated. So, yeah, the Office of Alien Property was tasked with securing all of the assets of foreign nationals during this time. And it was responsible for Tesla's belongings as well. So even though Tesla was a renowned inventor, his later years included claims that were often perceived as, honestly, eccentric or fantastical. What he was developing in his later years didn't seem real. It seemed like he was kind of losing it. He was poor. He was falling into ambiguity, I think, and starting to work on really weird things and say really weird things. So there was no real hint at what he was up to. You know, he was living in a hotel room. Dr. Trump had to get in there and determine whether Tesla's final theories and inventions had any grounding whatsoever in practical physics. The dude was a genius, and in his final years, if he's going to go and he's not really sharing that stuff, somebody has to go in there and see if there's anything groundbreaking or potentially damaging to the United States. My whole thing is, it's so crazy that Dr. Trump was working for the government and just happened to be the best guy to go and check out Tesla's stuff, because weird stuff happened potentially because of this. And we're going to get into this. This isn't about Nikola Tesla. This is about this weird Trump stuff. So Dr. Trump, for some reason, concluded that Tesla's papers contain nothing of significant practicality for, like, the war effort. And he noted that many of Tesla's ideas were imaginative. But what if that was a cover-up? What if he was just saying that to sort of put a lid on the thing and move along? Because the details of his assessment have remained relatively vague, and that could be due to the classified nature of some of the government work during that era, but he may have also just left that stuff out because he has a secret. The lack of a full public report on Tesla's findings and the subsequent rapid seizure of his belongings by the government have contributed to ongoing conspiracy theories, suggesting that Tesla's work may have included undisclosed tech that the U.S. government either suppressed or used covertly. And honestly, that's really not a huge surprise. I don't know why people act so surprised about that, because obviously if there's something freaking epic in dead Nikola Tesla's hotel room, what are they going to do? Just not take it? Just throw it out? No. I mean, they're going to take it, right? So it makes sense that they took his research. He was a genius. He was very influential in the way tech is today. But, I mean, come on, dude. Nothing. So one prominent scientist of the day gets the opportunity to raid Nikola Tesla's entire discography, and he finds not one good thing, nothing of interest. Nothing he might want to sneak away himself. Nothing on time manipulation or portals or time travel or death rays or anything that Nikola Tesla was notoriously assumed to be experimenting on. There was not a single note on any of that. And nothing involving the free trans-air electricity, which we now know that he perfected and would change this planet. Nothing like that. Nothing at all. Fascinating. Especially fascinating is that the next thing to occur was a sanitation sweep of the hotel room by none other than the FBI. Every scrap of paper, every shred of clothing, every skin cell was meticulously swept away from the room. And to this day, nobody knows what happened to a bunch of that stuff. We basically have like 230 or some pages of his work, and that's pretty much it. And a lot of it is actually not really his work. It's more like communications about his work. And that's weird because the FBI also went and took a bunch of his stuff from his laboratories that he had throughout the country and stuff. So there was something there, man. Like, they were looking for something and they found it and they got it, bro. They got it. If you guys really like, it's not like the Ark of the Covenant, man. Like, we know who has Nikola Tesla's stuff. It's the government. But the FBI insists that they have no such belongings, that the Office of Alien Property has it. The problem is the Office of Alien Property also says that they don't have it. And the estate of Nikola Tesla says, well, we got some stuff, but there's a ton of stuff still missing. And just nobody knows where it's at. So, all eyes on you, Mr. Trump. Really only leaves one person. So did he see something in there he thought maybe he would just keep for himself? Think about it. Was there something of value, and did he somehow impact the past so that the future might be different? I think sometimes people are trying to stab their daggers through the fabric of time, whether they become aware that the timeline is being messed with, or these people are interstellar painters or revolutionaries attempting communication in fantastic ways. There are people who are trying to tell the whole world and all of time something once in a while. And one such individual, in my opinion, may have been Ingersoll Lockwood. He wrote very interesting books, including a number of them being about some people who share a strikingly memorable name, Trump. The catch? This book was written in 1893, and it's about a young man who wouldn't exist until over 100 years later. This book was called Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Adventure. It's written by Ingersoll Lockwood in 1893. And it follows the peculiar adventures of a young aristocrat named Wilhelm Heinrich Sebastian von Trump, or Barron Trump, as he embarks on a journey to a mystical underground realm. Barron Trump is depicted as a restless, wealthy boy with a sharp intellect and a touch of arrogance. Seeking adventure beyond the comforts of his privileged life, he embarks on a quest inspired by the teachings of a mysterious master of all masters, and his name is Don. And his ancient manuscript provides the roadmap for the journey. So, following Don's cryptic instructions, Barron Trump sets off with his loyal dog Bulger, traveling from his home in Russia to unexplored territories in search of the entrance to an underground world. There's a lot of little coincidences popping up right now. We got Russia, which is where Melania is from, who is Barron's mother. We have this Barron Trump himself. We have Don being the master of all masters, guiding him upon this journey. Lots of weird stuff. So he sets off with his dog Bulger, and they travel from their home in Russia to all these unexplored territories in search of the entrance to this underground world. and Don's guidance leads him through a series of strange lands and cultures hidden beneath the Earth's surface. So we've got some inner Earth stuff going on here, and it's populated by people with these unique customs, languages, and appearances. Each region presents a different wonder and a different danger, testing Barron Trump's wit, bravery, and resourcefulness. And throughout the adventure, Barron encounters surreal and fantastical civilizations, and among them is the land of the transparent folk, a society of people who are literally transparent. They're see-through, which creates challenges and cultural differences that fascinate and confuse him. Another notable group he encounters are the Rattlebrains, inhabitants of a bizarre region who can twist and shape their heads into various forms, a society representing Lockwood's satirical take on intellectual conformity and social absurdity, allegedly. As Barron dives deeper into these strange cultures, he does encounter some philosophical ideas that challenge his views on reality, morality, and the limits of human understanding. And these allegorical societies force him to reflect on issues of vanity, hubris, the complexity of human nature. And through each encounter, Barron Trump gains new insights and often finds himself navigating moral dilemmas. And the story ends when he emerges from the underground world and returns home. And he's changed by the incredible experiences that he's had inside the earth. But there's a sense that his restlessness will soon drive him toward another journey. And sure enough, a couple books did follow. But Barron Trump, as most know, is the name of Don's son. So we have a Barron Trump who, according to some, is literally just a baron, like that is his title, with the last name Trump. But, like, come on, fine. If that's, yes, that makes total sense. That's his title. It's just a little too coincidental for comfort, though. Also, it taps into a great many interesting theories involving alternative timelines and alternative narratives. Why, for instance, this grand adventure to the inner Earth? Is that perhaps the true answer to the end of time? Will we return inwards? Or am I just reaching? Just kidding. Of course I'm reaching. The same author, this Mr. Lockwood, wrote another strange book. And it's a sequel to Barron Trump's marvelous underground adventure. This book is called The Last President, and it's published in 1896 by Ingersoll Lockwood. And it tells the story of a shocking political upheaval in the United States following the election of a deeply polarizing outsider president. And the fictional president rises to power on a wave of populist sentiment, representing the common people and standing in stark opposition to the political establishment. Like, what is going on? That is literally what is happening. His unexpected victory stirs widespread fear and chaos and social unrest, particularly in New York City, a city that coincidentally plays a central role in the real-life story of Donald Trump. And the novel opens with scenes of panic and outrage as mobs fill the streets of New York with riots breaking out and crowds storming neighborhoods, particularly around Fifth Avenue, which is a street famously associated with Trump Tower. This is taking place in a book that took place 100 years before Trump Tower was even an idea. Citizens are terrified that this new president's rule will disrupt the economy or dismantle long-standing institutions and that they'll divide the nation further. The imagery presented in the book is of citizens rioting against wealthy people and sort of storming through the Manhattan area and the government's eventual imposition of martial law, essentially, to basically control the unrest. It just looks a lot like modern American politics right now. Lockwood's fictional president introduces sweeping changes that unsettle the nation's elites, pushing forth an agenda that disregards traditional political boundaries and pits the lower and upper classes against one another. The character's outsider status, his anti-establishment rhetoric, and his appeal to a frustrated public align with some people's view of Don Trump's presidential campaign, in which he positioned himself as a disruptor fighting against the swamp and entrenched power. What makes The Last President particularly intriguing to modern readers are these seemingly prophetic elements. A leader emerging unexpectedly, igniting national tensions and sparking unrest in New York City, even near landmarks familiar in Trump's life, though written over a century ago. How is it so close to reality? It's such a weird, bizarre reality to foresee 100 years ago. Right? And then you take in this whole Barron Trump thing, the book that he wrote before this one. It really does lead some to wonder if Lockwood's work was a premonition, or simply maybe a timeless warning about the cycles of political and social strife. I don't know. It's kind of weird that the Trump Tower is on Fifth Ave, though, and that's one of the main locations in this book, too. Trump Tower wouldn't begin construction until about 83 years after this little prophecy was put to paper. And it's on Fifth Ave, baby, because of course it is. Because of these coincidences, some people have speculated that Lockwood might have had some prophetic insight into the future, or even that he could have been a time traveler. In reality, though, there's no evidence of any personal or familiar connection between Lockwood and the Trumps. Ingersoll Lockwood died in 1918, and that was nearly 2 decades before Donald Trump's father, Fred Trump, even entered the real estate business in New York. So it's unlikely that there was any direct or ancestral link between the Trumps and Ingersoll Lockwood. According to the official, most accepted narrative, the uncanny similarities between Lockwood's stories and the Trump family are just coincidences. These books reflect Lockwood's satirical, imaginative storytelling style, and he uses common names and archetypes that, by sheer chance, ended up resonating with modern events. But it's these coincidences that give Lockwood's work an almost mythical type quality, leading people to wonder if there could be some kind of hidden connection, or if these stories really were a bizarre preview of the future. And while there's no evidence of any real connection between Lockwood and the Trumps, the story is compelling enough to keep the mystery alive in pop culture and internet lore. I'm sure you guys have all heard of this. I'm going a little bit deeper on it, which is why I'm talking about it. Because again, I know this topic has been regurgitated over and over, but it is actually weird. And these aren't the only strange books that Lockwood wrote either. As a matter of fact, beyond these, there were several other stories about Barron Trump, who, by the way, looks strikingly similar to Barron Trump, the real one. But beyond these tales, though, Lockwood wrote additional weird content. He took his writings in an entirely different direction with this book that he wrote called The Art of Never Dying. Here was a man who had already hinted at knowledge beyond his time, who seemed to brush against secrets that were yet to even be revealed. Lockwood's sudden pivot from sort of whimsical children's tales and political satire to this mystic exploration of eternal life feels almost intentional, like the final missing piece of some kind of elaborate puzzle that he was laying out page by page. This is what I mean by the artists that stabbed their dagger into the fabric of time just to tell all people who ever witness his work, I know more than you. I see things you don't see. In The Art of Never Dying, Lockwood lays out his musings on life, death, and the possible triumph of the human spirit over mortality itself. But this isn't an instruction manual or some kind of prescription for eternal youth. Instead, it takes a philosophical path, painting a picture of immortality that is as much about understanding life's deeper meaning as it is about evading death. He suggests that immortality could be achieved through enlightenment, legacy, and the power of one's influence reaching beyond the confines of a physical lifespan. Pretty cool. And yet the book raises more questions than answers, right? Because who was Lockwood anyway? Who was this guy? Well, on paper, he was a lawyer and an author, but also a spiritual thinker, someone who had touched upon ancient truths. And he reshaped some of them into literary form. Lockwood's fascination with immortality and the art of never dying sits alongside his tales with Barron Trump and the last president, and that he leaves us with this tantalizing mystery of who this guy was. Could Lockwood have known something? Did he discover an insight into the nature of life and death? Some say that the art of never dying is simply the product of a 19th century mind that was entranced by the era's spiritual and occult movements, and that could totally be true. But there are others, those who look closer and sense something deeper, and they see Lockwood's writings not as coincidence, but as coded messages that are meant to transcend time. Sort of like breadcrumbs for the discerning reader to follow or something like that. And after all, if Lockwood could foresee a political outsider rising to the presidency, if he could name a character Barron Trump a century before the birth of Don Trump's youngest son, could he not have glimpsed something more, something hidden in plain sight within the pages of The Art of Never Dying? This is where fact meets the more fantastical, though, where we find ourselves asking questions like, did Lockwood tap into knowledge that was never meant for his time? Or perhaps is The Art of Never Dying more than a philosophical exercise, but a relic of something that's actually lost? A guide to sort of defying the boundaries of life itself. Maybe he did know something more. But listen, people write strange stuff all the time. I once wrote a book on cannibalism and related it to some... Never mind. But people write strange stuff all the time. And I collect weird books. Believe me, there's a book on everything. So this topic in of itself is not overly strange. The strange part is this weird connection to time, to the Trumps, and to Nikola Tesla. We have these hints that Lockwood was deeply interested in transcending time and death. He also seemed to know a little something about the future, one way or another, and both of these things kind of, in a weird way, maybe connect him to John Trump, the scientist who got first dibs on Tesla's plans, including, potentially, the plans on bending time and space. It's all just a little bit weird. In the later years of his life, Tesla reportedly hinted at windows through which one might observe different times, suggesting that energy vibrations could hold clues to these temporal dimensions. And during his experiments with high-frequency electricity and powerful electromagnetic fields, Tesla believed that he was brushing against the edges of something truly profound, an understanding of the universe that could potentially bridge the past and the present. It could allow for time travel. One particular, though unverified, anecdote claims that Tesla briefly experienced events from different times while conducting a high-energy experiment, feeling as though he was out of sync with the present. And some people say he was just injured, but some people believe this was relating to time travel. He allegedly described it as a moment when he could see past, present, and future all at once. And although Tesla never published formal research on this concept, because Tesla also knew the value of keeping secrets, this story has become part of his legacy, and people are fascinated by it because it appears to hint at time travel. Tesla's ideas, let's not forget, were far from mainstream a lot of the time, even in his day. But his unique approach to energy and vibration has led many to wonder if he truly believed, or perhaps even discovered, that there were ways to access images or echoes from other times, almost like peering through a window in the space-time continuum. Tesla's vision of energy, frequency, and the potential to unlock the secrets of the universe has left a lingering question. Was he merely speaking in metaphors, or was he onto something far more extraordinary? Other stories from around the world, like that of the chronovisor from Catholic lore, the bronze head of Sylvester II, also from Catholic lore, both things that we've discussed on this show within the past couple weeks. But aside from these, we have the Akashic mirror from Indian lore, the dream machines from ancient Sumerian and Egyptian lore, the psychomantium from Greece. They all hint at the potential for such windows to exist through the use of various equipment. Was one such thing in Tesla's hotel room that day? Whatever it was, it's rumored that if taken by John Trump the day that he went in to examine Nikola Tesla's belongings, if he took something, it would have been passed down to his most successful nephew, Donald Trump. Don Trump, the man. And many skeptics say no, that's not possible, because there are no real official reports that Nikola Tesla was working on any of that stuff. But Tesla has also said that many things he did not even talk about working on for fear that someone else might overhear and invent it first. The man had many secrets, and being wildly intelligent, he would have been capable of this method of compound inventing, which is like when you invent one legendary thing or discover a legendary thing or another, and it leads to the invention of yet another legendary thing that would have been impossible to create or discover without the original legendary thing that you found that nobody else has. And this is how Tesla bent time. He was utilizing technology for further advancement of his inventions before anybody even knew that he had a form of technology to elevate to advancement. He was a genius, and he may have been turned by the Russians. After all, he wasn't. Some say he was an American citizen, and some say he wasn't, but at a minimum, he was a dual citizen. And that may have been why he was murdered, because there was this speculation that he was turned by the Russians. But that's a story for another time. Like I said, this isn't about Tesla. This is about the weird Barron stuff and a couple other things. Tesla was known for his dream, also, of free wireless energy, accessible to everybody. An idea that threatened established power structures. Some theorists speculate that John Trump, who later worked on classified projects for the US government, may have seen value in Tesla's unfinished ideas. And there's a belief that if Tesla's work on energy had been suppressed or misused, it might explain some of the Trump family's interest in business, power, and real estate. But again, there's no direct link. It's just interesting that similar sentiments appear to be felt by the current president-elect. So what do we really have here, guys? Because these things did happen. Everything I'm talking about, John Trump getting Nikola Tesla's stuff, potentially passing it down, Ingersoll Lockwood writing about Barron, all that stuff did happen. It's all occurred. Go ahead and fact check it. Read about all these people and when they were alive and what they may or may not have been looking for or at. So why did the FBI later claim to have absolutely none of Tesla's belongings? That's another question. And why also did the Office of Alien Property also claim the same? The very organizations that brought in Dr. John Trump. Is it because Trump has the good stuff? Does the FBI have the good stuff? Or did something else happen? Did the maid take the good stuff? Dun dun. But in 2025, we have a very, very interesting thing happening, guys. Donald Trump becomes president once again, and by his side is Elon Musk, the founder of a little company that maybe you've heard of. It's called Tesla. Elon Musk, through his companies like Tesla and SpaceX, is indeed working on several areas that intersect with Nikola Tesla's vision. His company is named after Nikola Tesla, obviously. So we're going to take a look at some of those. We have this wireless power transmission that we know Nikola Tesla was passionate about, and he believed that energy could be distributed through the atmosphere and received wirelessly by devices all around the world. His Vardenclyffe Tower project was intended to be that prototype for this vision. He used this tower to show that he could do this, and he succeeded in proving it to himself, but unfortunately not the world, because he was unable to complete it because he was poor. He had some funding issues and skepticism from investors, but in his laboratories, he said he perfected it. Tesla imagined a world where electricity would be free and available to everybody without the need for traditional infrastructure like wires and cables. And wouldn't that be nice? Elon Musk hasn't really focused directly on Tesla's vision of atmospheric wireless power transmission, but his work in energy through Tesla is aligned with creating more accessible, sustainable energy solutions, right? And his vision includes solar energy and like battery storage, which does aim to decentralize power distribution, which is similar to Tesla's goal of free and accessible energy. Not quite the same, but similar. But Nikola Tesla was also a strong advocate for renewable energy sources, specifically harnessing the natural forces of the earth. And even though he lived before solar and wind tech became practical, he did express a belief in such technology, hoping that one day humanity could rely on such sources instead of fossil fuels. Elon Musk, needless to say, is sort of pushing towards that end. Nikola Tesla invented the induction motor and was fascinated by the potential of electric motors, which became fundamental in developing, guess what? Electric-powered technologies, which is what Tesla thrives on. Electric cars, guys. So he's taken that legacy even further. It's just all of this stuff, and we could go over more and more, but in the end, it just seems like Elon Musk knew what Tesla was all about, Nikola Tesla, and seems to be following the same agenda. He even theorized about the potential for radio waves to be used for wireless communication across vast distances through space, and potentially communicating with extraterrestrial civilizations. This is stuff that Nikola Tesla believed he could do. He believed that he actually intercepted some of these cosmic signals and speculated that he was receiving messages from other worlds. Elon Musk wants to set up vast civilizations on other planets. Like, I don't know, man. It almost seems... It seems a little too parallel. So is it just great minds thinking alike, or is there more going on? You know, from a conspiratorial perspective, the idea that John Trump or the Trump family might have, passed on Nikola Tesla's secret documents to Elon Musk at some point in time is kind of like exciting. It's kind of a theory that like, does the Trump family have something on Musk? Or did Musk stand very much to gain because of what the Trumps have, which is these blueprints and these writings from Nikola Tesla himself that the government wanted years and years ago, right? It's just kind of, again, like the coincidence is weird. But there's no concrete evidence for it, and the narrative is sort of like, nah, that's not a real thing. But, I mean, it might be a real thing. So let's just look at it a little bit. So the theory suggests that John Trump, he might have preserved some of Tesla's more powerful ideas, more interesting stuff that he was finding. And he wanted to keep it as a legacy of sorts, or for his family or future innovator, whatever, but he wanted to keep it. And he believed that Tesla's inventions had the potential to change the world. So he might have viewed them as way too valuable for the government to have. It was knowledge to be protected and safeguarded until the right time, right? So in this narrative, the Trump family would have inherited not only John Trump's scientific insights, but possibly even Tesla's actual guarded research on some of these topics that we've been talking about. And if you fast forward to the present, then Donald Trump, who was aware of his uncle's expertise and scientific legacy, of course, may have sought to connect with someone capable of understanding and potentially applying these ideas. Someone like Elon Musk, who is an entrepreneur with ambition, resources, and a vision to explore tech that push the limits of today's science. And also just happen to have a political alignment with Donald Trump. So, according to this theory, Elon Musk, as an individual who's sort of driven by big visions and this desire to revolutionize everything from energy to space exploration or whatever, everything in between, he would be an ideal candidate to inherit such knowledge. And his work with electric vehicles, sustainable energy, high-speed transportation, I mean, the guy has got to be one of the smartest people on the planet, and even space exploration seems possible through him. So if anybody's going to get Nikola Tesla's stuff, it should probably be Elon. So it's not hard to imagine that someone like Donald Trump, who is connected to Musk and supportive of his adventures, might see him as a literal successor to Tesla's visionary legacy. Could Musk have been quietly gifted access to Tesla's stolen or hidden research? And maybe not in a literal sense, like receiving a briefcase of secret documents, but possibly through indirect encouragement, influence, or selective sharing of information, for instance. If certain pieces of Tesla's knowledge had been preserved within the Trump family, Elon Musk might have received sort of like hints, concepts, or frameworks for experiments that inspired some of his work. Or maybe he just received a briefcase full of secret documents. Who knows? So another angle to this theory kind of speculates that some of Tesla's most advanced work, ideas that Trump might have deemed too dangerous for public knowledge, could have been kept under wraps for decades. And according to this line of thought, Tesla's ideas on resonant frequencies, free energy, or time manipulation, they were preserved and hidden. And if Musk was granted access to any of this knowledge, even in fragments, it could explain his relentless pursuit of technological frontiers, and maybe why he's so excited about Mars and scared but also optimistic of the future for different reasons than normal human beings are. And all of this is rooted in the belief that certain families or individuals have held on to this forbidden knowledge, concepts that are just way too transformative for public release, that didn't fall into the hands of the little guy, because the people who had this information, this forbidden knowledge, unfortunately, they are just usually richly connected. But it's also possible to frame this conspiracy theory, because I am going to call it that, because even though I don't like that term as much as I used to, we're not conspiracy theorists anymore. We're alternative thinkers. We're alternative investigators. This kind of stuff doesn't have any concrete evidence. What do you guys think? Does any of this hold any water to you? This is kind of a popular conspiracy theory. I know. I usually try to do the more stranger ones, the weirder ones, but considering everything that's going on, it sort of resurfaced to the top of my algorithm, and so I had to give it a look, and because I never really gave it a real deep dig, and until now, so I gave it one, and yep, that's weird. So anyway, thanks for experiencing 21st century dystopian. Don't drink the water and question everything. Later.